Imagine a little boy born in a quiet town in Massachusetts who one day would grow up to become one of the most recognizable faces on Earth. Imagine that same boy being laughed at, doubted, told he'd never be good enough. Now imagine that he not only proved them wrong, but turned those doubts into fuel until his name echoed across arenas, movie theaters, and television screens worldwide.
That boy's name was John Felix Anthony Cena. And his story is not what you think. Because behind the spotlight, behind the championships, behind the memes and the fame, is a tale of rejection, resilience, and relentless self-belief. A tale that begins far from the roaring crowds of WrestleMania. It begins in a small, ordinary town called West Newbury. John Cena was born on April 23, 1977. To most, it was just another day, but for his family, it marked the arrival of a child who would one day carry the weight of the world's eyes on his shoulders. His parents, Carol and John Sr., raised 5 energetic boys under one roof. And in that chaos of brothers, Stephen, Dan, Matt, Sean, and John himself, the seeds of competition were planted early.
John wasn't the strongest at first. He wasn't the tallest either. But what he lacked in size, he made up for in stubbornness. If you pushed him down, he got back up. If you told him no, he found a way to make it a yes. From the very beginning, John was fascinated by 2 things: sports and larger-than-life heroes. Like many kids of the 1980s, he was glued to the TV when wrestling legends like Hulk Hogan thundered into the ring. The energy, the charisma, the spectacle, young John was hooked. But deep down, even as a child, he wanted to be more than just a spectator. He wanted to be one of them. Still, childhood wasn't all smooth sailing. Growing up in West Newbury, Cena often felt like the odd one out. He was different. He loved lifting weights before most kids his age even thought about fitness. He dreamed of being strong, powerful, unstoppable. But not everyone around him understood that. Some kids teased him. Some thought he was strange. One day in school, when he was only about 12 years old, John asked his father for a weightlifting bench, and instead of toys, he wanted dumbbells. Most parents might have laughed, but John's dad didn't. He got him the bench. And every day, young John locked himself away in the basement, clanging the weights, sweating, pushing, straining, while his friends were outside riding bikes or playing video games. Hidden gem fact number 1. At just 12 years old, John Cena could already bench press more than many grown men. But here's the twist. His obsession with training wasn't about vanity. It was about survival. John was bullied at school. Smaller, weaker kids often became easy targets, and John knew the sting of cruel words and mean tricks. So when he picked up those weights, it wasn't to show off. It was to protect himself, to make sure no one could ever make him feel powerless again. This hunger for strength wasn't just physical, it was mental. He was building a shield, brick by brick, against the world's doubts. And by his teenage years, that shield became visible. Cena was no longer the scrawny, awkward kid. He was becoming an athlete. His body was transforming. His confidence was rising. But here's where life throws the first curveball. John had all the passion in the world, but no clear direction. He loved football, he loved bodybuilding, he loved the idea of wrestling. But which path would he take? And could a kid from a small town even dare to dream of something as outrageous as becoming a superstar? This is where fate steps in. In high school, John joined the football team, and from the very first snap, it was obvious he had something special. He wasn't the biggest guy on the field, but he had fire in his veins. He hit harder, ran faster, and never backed down. Coaches noticed. Teammates respected him. Suddenly, the boy who once stood on the sidelines of life was standing at the center of it. But football was brutal.
Every game was a war, every practice a test, and John, with his relentless drive, kept pushing his limits. His strength training gave him an edge. His discipline kept him ahead. He wasn't just playing, he was proving himself over and over again. And yet, the dream of professional wrestling never truly left him. In fact, it whispered to him louder with every passing year. At night, when the lights went out, John would lie awake, imagining himself in the ring, the roar of the crowd, the blinding lights, the announcer screaming his name. But to everyone else, that dream seemed ridiculous. Wrestling was entertainment, not a career, not for a small-town kid like John Cena. Or so they thought. Because John had something nobody could see yet, an unbreakable will. Hidden gem fact number 2. John Cena once admitted that as a teenager, he carried around pictures of wrestlers in his school notebooks, not to show off, but to remind himself daily of where he wanted to be. Now, here's where the tension builds. Cena graduates high school, stronger, tougher, and more determined than ever. He gets accepted to Springfield College, where he plays Division III football as a center. Once again, he isn't the biggest, he isn't the flashiest, but he works harder than anyone else. Teammates often recalled how Cena was the first one at practice and the last one to leave. That discipline was paying off, but underneath, the same old doubts lingered. Could football really take him where he wanted to go, or was it just another step on a bigger journey? And then, something happened that would change the course of his life forever. At Springfield, John started focusing more on his bodybuilding. His physique was becoming undeniable. Muscles packed onto his frame, veins bulging, the kind of body that made people stop and stare. He wasn't just an athlete anymore, he was a specimen. Hidden gem fact number 3. John once joked that he had only $50 in his pocket and a dream when he started bodybuilding seriously in college. But this was no joke. That dream was pulling him westward, toward California, the land of bodybuilders, the home of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and, as fate would have it, the birthplace of his wrestling career. So imagine this, a young man in his early 20s packing up his car with nothing but clothes, weights, and a stubborn dream, driving across the country with no guarantees, no money, no safety net, just determination. It was a decision that would shock his family, confuse his friends, and put John Cena at the edge of a cliff with no parachute. Would he fly, or would he fall? That, my friends, is where the real story begins. The year is the mid-1990s. John Cena is at Springfield College, wearing number 54 on his football jersey. The number itself might seem random, but to John, it wasn't. It became a symbol of his grit, his persistence, and his refusal to back down. Even years later, when he would enter the WWE ring, fans would spot merchandise with 54 stitched across it, a silent tribute to those tough college days when every down was a battle. On the field, John wasn't the tallest or heaviest. Playing as a center meant you had to anchor the line, protect the quarterback, and absorb brutal hits every single play. But John thrived on that punishment. He wasn't just playing football. He was testing his endurance, testing his will. Every bruised rib, every sprained ankle, every cracked helmet was a reminder that pain couldn't stop him. Hidden gem fact number 4. Even in college football, John wasn't a star recruit. Scouts barely noticed him, but coaches consistently praised his leadership, calling him the engine that never stops. But while football gave him discipline, there was a louder voice inside his head, a voice that whispered, "This isn't it. There's more waiting for you."
That voice pulled him into the weight room, and if the football field was his battlefield, then the weight room was his sanctuary. Hours melted away as John pushed himself past exhaustion. His arms ballooned, his chest broadened, his frame started to resemble the superheroes he'd admired as a child. Students walking past the gym would stop and peek in, whispering, "That guy's a machine." But as graduation approached, reality crept in. Football wasn't opening doors. No scouts were calling. No professional future awaited him in the NFL. Cena could have taken a safe route, get a 9-to-5 job, maybe stay in Massachusetts, live a comfortable, ordinary life. But John Cena was not built for ordinary. So he made a choice that would change everything. With only $500 in his pocket and a car packed full of clothes, protein powder, and iron determination, he drove across the country. Destination? Venice Beach, California, the Mecca of bodybuilding. And when he got there, the dream clashed with reality. Life in California wasn't glamorous. John rented a tiny apartment, sometimes cramming in with 5 other guys just to afford the rent. His car doubled as a closet, sometimes even as a bed. He worked at a local gym for minimum wage, cleaning equipment and folding towels, just to keep the lights on. But every spare moment, every ounce of energy he had, went into training. Gold's Gym in Venice became his temple. The same gym where Arnold Schwarzenegger had trained decades earlier. The same walls that had seen legends carved from sweat and steel. And now, a young, hungry John Cena was trying to carve himself into something more than just muscle.
Hidden gem fact number 5. During his California days, John worked as a limousine driver at night to scrape together extra money. Imagine that, a future global superstar opening car doors for strangers while secretly dreaming of opening the door to his own destiny. But bodybuilding wasn't paying off. Competitions were brutal, sponsorships were scarce. Cena could transform his body, but the world wasn't giving him a break. He needed something else, something bigger. That's when destiny knocked. One day at the gym, John overheard a conversation. Some guys were talking about a wrestling school in nearby Orange County. Ultimate Pro Wrestling, UPW, a place where wannabe wrestlers could train, learn the ropes, and maybe, just maybe, get noticed by the big leagues. The moment John heard it, his pulse quickened. Wrestling! The dream he'd carried since childhood, the dream he'd doodled in notebooks back in high school, the dream he thought was impossible. Suddenly, it didn't feel so impossible anymore. But here's the problem. Cena had no money for tuition. Wrestling school wasn't free. It cost hundreds of dollars. Money John simply didn't have. So he did what John Cena always did when faced with a wall. He found a way around it. He begged. He borrowed. He scraped together every dollar he could, even skipping meals just to save cash. Finally, with the bare minimum in hand, he signed up. And stepping into that dingy wrestling school for the first time, Cena felt something electric in the air. The ring smelled of sweat and dust. The mats were torn. The lighting was dim. But to John, it was heaven. The trainers put him through hell, slam after slam, drill after drill, test after test. Many guys quit after just a few weeks. Cena didn't. He kept getting up. Every time they threw him down, he bounced back stronger.
It wasn't long before the trainers noticed something unusual. Cena wasn't just strong. He wasn't just fast. He had charisma. That X factor you can't teach. He cracked jokes. He hyped up the other trainees. He made people laugh, even while getting slammed to the ground. And when he grabbed the microphone for the first time, the room went silent. Cena had presence. He had charm. He had the spark of a superstar. But superstardom doesn't happen overnight.
For 2 long years, Cena wrestled in tiny gyms in front of a few dozen people. Sometimes he'd earn $50 a match, sometimes nothing at all. He wrestled under a character called the Prototype, a half-man, half-machine gimmick with bleached blonde hair and robotic mannerisms. It was cheesy, it was awkward, but it was a start. And even in those small crowds, there were whispers, "That guy, he's got something." Still, Cena's bank account was empty. His car was breaking down, his body was sore. Friends told him to quit, family wondered if he'd ever make it. But deep inside, John clung to a belief that would define his entire career. Never give up. And then the call came, the call that every aspiring wrestler dreams of. WWE was holding tryouts, the biggest stage in wrestling, the global juggernaut, and Cena's name was on the list. This was it, the shot, the make-or-break moment, the chance to step out of obscurity and into history. But the question lingered, would WWE see him as a star, or just another body to throw away? Picture this, a young John Cena walking nervously into a WWE tryout in the year 2000. The air inside the training facility is heavy with tension. Trainers bark instructions, aspirants run the ropes, bump on the mat, sweat dripping from every corner of the room. Cena, with his bleach blonde hair and robotic prototype persona, doesn't exactly blend in. He's bigger than most, stronger than most, but in WWE, muscles alone don't guarantee success. This was the big leagues, and the big leagues were brutal. The trainers put him through drills, slam after slam, sprint after sprint. His body ached, his lungs burned, but Cena didn't quit. And something about him caught their eye. He had that intensity, that focus, that refusal to give up. Soon after, Cena was signed to WWE's developmental territory, Ohio Valley Wrestling, known as OVW. It was here that future legends were molded. Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, Batista, Shelton Benjamin, and right in the middle of them, John Cena. At OVW, Cena kept the prototype gimmick, half man, half machine, robotic, mechanical. It was strange, almost cartoonish, but it gave him a place to start. And in the ring, his work ethic shined. He trained for hours, he studied tapes, he asked questions, he pushed himself harder than anyone else.
But here's the thing, in wrestling, you can be technically solid, you can be powerful, you can be dedicated, yet still, you might never make it. Because the key to superstardom isn't just skill, it's connection, the ability to make a crowd feel something. And at first, John Cena struggled with that. By 2002, WWE was ready to test him on the main stage. On June 27th of that year, Cena made his televised debut against Kurt Angle on SmackDown. When Angle issued an open challenge, Cena stepped out in plain trunks, nothing flashy, nothing extraordinary, and declared he had ruthless aggression. Then he slapped Angle across the face. The match was intense. Cena showed heart, strength, flashes of something special. He lost, but the crowd noticed him. And for a moment, it seemed like WWE had found a fresh star. But then, the momentum died. For the next several months, Cena drifted. He wrestled matches, he tried different looks, he smiled, he growled, he even tried being a generic good guy. But nothing stuck. Fans didn't care. Creative teams didn't see him as a main eventer. Behind the scenes, whispers spread. Maybe Cena isn't cut out for this. And here's the shocking truth. John Cena was dangerously close to being fired. Yes, fired. Before he ever became a household name, WWE almost let him go.
He was bland, they thought, forgettable, just another muscle-bound guy in trunks. But then, fate intervened in the unlikeliest way.
It was Halloween 2002. WWE wrestlers were on a bus, traveling between shows. People were goofing off, dressing up in costumes, trying to kill time. Cena grabbed a microphone and started freestyling. Rhymes, jokes, insults. Words flowed from him like a river. He rapped about his fellow wrestlers, cracked everyone up, and kept the whole bus entertained. One WWE writer happened to be there. His jaw dropped. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Cena had just revealed something no one in WWE had seen before. His charisma, his voice, his ability to control a crowd with nothing but words. That moment saved his career. Soon after, WWE gave Cena a new gimmick. He became the Doctor of Thugonomics. Baggy shorts, backwards hat, throwback jerseys, chains around his neck, and most importantly, the mic in his hand. When Cena grabbed the microphone, he turned arenas into rap battles. He roasted his opponents with savage freestyles. He made crowds laugh, cheer, even boo. But the important thing was, he made them react. Finally, John Cena was connecting. And the fans loved it. Well, not all fans. Some hated him. But that was fine, because love or hate, Cena was getting noticed. Match by match, promo by promo, the Doctor of Thugonomics climbed the ranks. He wasn't just wrestling, he was performing. He was entertaining. And he was unforgettable. But make no mistake, it wasn't smooth sailing. For every cheer, there were boos. For every fan who adored him, there were critics who said he was just a gimmick, a rapper with no real depth. And Cena knew it. That's why he kept pushing, kept grinding, kept evolving. By 2003, Cena was battling some of WWE's toughest names. Brock Lesnar, The Undertaker, Chris Jericho. He didn't always win, but he always left an impression. Slowly, the kid from West Newbury was becoming a cornerstone of WWE television.
One night on SmackDown, Cena walked to the ring with a steel chain swinging from his neck and spat a rap that left the crowd roaring. He looked straight into the camera and smirked. At that moment, everyone watching knew John Cena was no longer on the brink of firing. He was on the brink of stardom. But with stardom came pressure. Could the Doctor of Thugonomics evolve into something more? Or would he burn out, trapped in a gimmick? That question would be answered on the grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania. WrestleMania, the stage where legends are made and careers are defined. For John Cena, that moment arrived at WrestleMania X in 2004. Madison Square Garden was buzzing. The crowd erupted as Cena stepped through the curtain, chain swinging, smirk on his face, rapping insults at his opponent, the towering Big Show. This wasn't just another match. This was Cena's first shot at championship gold, the United States title. The match was gritty. Big Show, a 7-foot giant, manhandled Cena. Every slam echoed. Every punch rattled his bones. But Cena, as always, refused to stay down. He clawed, he fought, he scraped. And in the end, he pulled out the unthinkable. Using a hidden chain for an edge, followed by his signature FU finishing move, Cena pinned the giant. 1, 2, 3. The arena exploded. John Cena was the new United States champion. That night, something shifted. Cena wasn't just a gimmick anymore. He was a champion, a player, a name people couldn't ignore. Over the next year, Cena defended his title against all comers. He freestyled his way through promos, brought swagger to his matches, and, slowly but surely, became one of the most popular stars on SmackDown. Fans waved signs. Kids wore his jerseys. The Doctor of Thugonomics was becoming a household name.
But with popularity comes responsibility. And WWE knew Cena was ready for something bigger, much bigger. By 2005, Cena's eyes were locked on the WWE Championship. His rival? John Bradshaw Layfield, better known as JBL, a ruthless, wealthy, arrogant champion who belittled Cena at every turn. To JBL, Cena was just a street punk with a chain and rhymes. To Cena, JBL represented everything he hated: entitlement, arrogance, and looking down on people like him. Their feud boiled over at WrestleMania 21. In Los Angeles, under the blinding lights, Cena challenged JBL for the WWE Championship. The match was brutal. JBL battered Cena, trying to break his will. But once again, Cena's toughness shined. He hit the FU, he pinned JBL, and in that instant, history was made. John Cena became WWE Champion for the very first time. Confetti rained down, the crowd thundered, and a new era began. Cena held the title high, and with it, the responsibility of carrying the company. And WWE wasted no time making him the face. His rapper persona evolved into a cleaner, more heroic version of himself. Instead of the edgy rhymes, Cena began embracing a motto that would define his career: hustle, loyalty, respect. It became more than a catchphrase. It became a brand. Kids wore his colorful Never Give Up shirts. Fans held signs that read Chain Gang. Cena was no longer just a character. He was becoming a role model.
Because the higher Cena climbed, the louder the critics grew. Some fans adored him. They screamed his name. They chanted along. They waved their "You can't see me" hand taunts with pride. But others booed. They said he was too corporate, too clean, too safe. They claimed he was shoved down their throats by WWE management. Every arena became a battlefield. Half the crowd chanting, "Let's go, Cena!" The other half roaring, "Cena sucks!" And Cena? He embraced it. He thrived on it. He didn't care if you loved him or hated him. What mattered was that you reacted, that you felt something when he walked through the curtain. Meanwhile, Cena's rivalries were reaching legendary status. He battled Chris Jericho, who tried to outsmart him with technical brilliance. He clashed with Kurt Angle, the Olympic gold medalist, who mocked his street style but couldn't break his spirit. And perhaps most famously, he went toe-to-toe with Edge. Edge, the ultimate opportunist, stole the WWE Championship from Cena by cashing in the very first Money in the Bank contract in 2006. The rivalry was red hot. Edge taunted Cena relentlessly. Cena fought back with fury. Their matches were bloody, intense, unforgettable. At one point, Cena even delivered a jaw-dropping FU off a ladder through 2 tables, cementing his reputation as someone willing to risk it all to stay on top. But it wasn't just rivalries. Cena was now headlining WrestleManias, carrying the company's banner, appearing on talk shows, starring in commercials. His schedule was insane. He barely slept. He barely had time to breathe.